What up, guys? I'm going to be making a new tier list for the new season, and I'm going to be going over, obviously, all the gods and 100% going over the characters that got some big changes. As I've played a couple days into the season, I've played a lot of PTS and a lot of into the new season, so I'm going to start it up. Hope you guys enjoy. If you guys have any questions, feel free to comment below, and I'll make sure to answer all your questions. All right, so this is going to be in general, right? So we're going to look at these characters for what roles they play best in, and this is in general, not jungle, not mid, not support, in general. I want you guys to know what the best gods are going into this new rank season, new rank split. So here we go. I think Achilles is the timing of game. All right, before I actually go into this tier list, I'm going to explain a couple things about this new patch. For one, if you've played the new patch, the games are significantly shorter than they were before. Why? Double Titans are spawning, totems and recipes allow for more map play, more different spikes and faster spikes. FG became squishier, so you can get FGs way easier. In general, the game is easier to end, 100%. The game is faster. So with this, there is a spiral of change in the characters. For one, the characters that were, super good late game, that scale that you're playing to 35 minutes for, are not as good, right? Because if you lose in the early game, you could just lose the game. So where before you could build Tablet, Book of Thoth, and just sit there and know the game is not going to end, and then impact that last EFG fight with stack Tablet, stack Book, and Reaver, and all these late game items. In this meta, you can no longer do that. I mean, you can if you can predict the timing of the game and assume that the game's gonna go very long and go Book of Thoth, sure. But if someone goes Chronos Pendant and fights at mid camps and he's stronger than you because he's resetting his kit more often than you, and then gets a Gold Fury, and then now he's up 2k on you while you're trying to stack Book, it could become pretty ugly. This goes for every single role, not just mid. It goes for stacking Prophetic in support, stacking Prophetic in solo, stacking Gloves in duo, stacking Transcendence in jungle. A lot of these things have changed. As you know, I like to change my items a lot. I like to know the timing. I like to know the spike of what I'm doing. So I just wanted to let you guys know that before we even start this tier list, the timing of the game has changed, meaning certain characters have come back and some characters have been are going to be in different spots. For example, Baba, that's scaled super fucking well into the late game, is not as good, right? You can't, if you go Prophetic, Warlock, Book, you might fall behind. I think Baba is still good. She got nerfed, but it's changed. So here we go. Hope you guys enjoy. Achilles, I think, is about an A tier. Because now you're going to start thinking about winning lane again, right? And Achilles is okay in lane. He's not dominant, but he has the XC, so he's always going to scale. He has good mid-game rotations. So Gold Furies, the XC can do a lot. My opinion, pretty good. I think Agni is really good right now. I think people were building, like, even in some of the SPL games, they were building Book and whatnot. I don't think I would build Book on Agni. I love Chronos Pendant Agni. There's no better character, in my opinion, that takes advantage of Chronos Pendant better than Agni. Maybe Janus or a couple other characters, but Agni is always going to get value of the Chronos Pendant. And, going Gem or going Deso into Murden, into, whatever it is, Spear, Magus, Divine, all these faster items are really good for Agni, and he has a strong pace. He has good control of mid camps. I think Agni is really good. I think Poash is more like a B. I think Poash is actually better at, playing the game a bit slower because he can stack a little bit and do, funnel damage. I think the game is a little bit faster now, which makes Poash not as strong in my opinion. Alma got a pretty big buff. I was able to watch Baskin play it in solo and in general. I think the Alma buffs were pretty damn good. I think she controls lane pretty well. She's strong. She can proxy really well, rotate to Gold Fury well. She scales well. She's decent in early game. I think Alma's pretty good. Anubis, I think Anubis is still in the A tier. He's flexing a couple roles, and with early game being a little bit better now, Anubis definitely is happy with a faster early game because his scaling is not that good. He does get one tapped when you get, when you have relics online. If you're just sitting in place ulting, but as his early game is pretty good, going vamp into Bancrofts and running it down, could benefit you and get you big XP level leads. Ao Quang, Ao Quang. Actually, I'm gonna drop Puanch. I'm gonna be moving them around as I see the rest of them come in. Ao Quang is pretty damn good. I mean, I just dropped a video on him. You guys saw this character, Rex Face, in jungle. The XE, even though he's a tiny bit slower to build up, he's still really strong at 2-3. So AO's nuts right now. I think Afro needs a couple items. I think she's okay right now. I think Afro is... She's in an okay spot. I would say she's an average mid laner, below average support. Maybe average support too, but she's dead in other roles. Obviously can't solo, can't jungle. But in her role, support and mid, she's okay. I could see her being pretty strong because I'm trying to think of like all these spikes and when I'm fighting in this new meta, and it feels like some of these mid game in Gold Fury and Pyro fights, Afro could have a lot of value as the map is still pretty big and the sustain. Afro's as good as your Link is. I'll leave it at that. So she's a B. Arachne did jump up a little bit. We saw those Arachne changes. So I think Arachne is good at pub stomping. She does fall off a bit in terms of like her... At the higher rank you go, she falls off. But I think if you're around that, you know, that gold, plat, diamond spot, I think Arachne can pub stomp games very easily. As you guys saw in the new patch notes, her 2 now post stun still holds on to her attack speed stim, which means her DPS was probably doubled or tripled just based off kit. She also got buffed on her ult range and buffed on the amount of webs she can have. Arachne is in a decent spot. I'm probably going to drop an Arachne video soon for you guys, so that'll be in the works. Ares is absolutely nuts. He's gotten buffed and buffed and buffed and buffed. He got like a tiny nerf on the chains damage, but because I mean if you have chains up more often, it makes sense to hit it the amount of damage. But his 2 now gives damage. He's hard to kill. He has mitigations on his ult. I mean the character has been buffed. He is strong. If you play support, play Ares, you will own. Get auras and you'll cook everybody. RDO got some small buffs. I think the character's still pretty mid. I haven't seen any RDOs yet. I could see her being okay, honestly, in solo. Like, she did get some buffs, and there's one thing I've always talked about in terms of characters like RDO, Bellona, these solo laners that hit these spikes. In the old patch, they were dead. Why? Because there was no rotation of Gold Fury. There was no, we rotated Gold Fury, we win this fight, we're really ahead, we're in a really good spot, we can end the game around 25 minutes, you know, 27 minutes with our big lead. This is back, by the way. So RDO being a solo laner and being able to impact these Gold Fury fights and actually win them and be able to actually have a higher chance or higher win probability off these Gold Fury fights and Pyro fights, that means RDO has higher value. So definitely bumped up to B. I'm not sure if she's as good as Achilles and Alma. Obviously, she needs, you know, her cripple to have high value for her to work. So her in that B spot makes sense to me. Athena got mega buffed. If you have not read the patch notes, you have to. Athena got mega buffed. She is a great support. She's okay in solo. She's not as good in jungle, but she's a great support right now. Increased movement speed on her ult. Her 3 slows instead of her 1 now. In general, just good buffs on her. Atlas, I think, is pretty damn good. Not as good as Athena and Ares, but I think he's pretty good. His ult is strong. I think we didn't see him too much. I think Lazar played him like in the you know role champs or whatever. But I think Alex is pretty damn good. His ult does a lot of damage, helps on those Gold Fury and Pyro fights. His grab is good as long as there's a lack of knockup immunity. In general, I think Alex is pretty good. Oh, Willix. Okay, you guys want to hear some tech on a Willix? I mean, I made a YouTube short with tech on a Willix, but I want to tell you guys about some tech on the item. So, her passive is pretty much the passive for jungle recipe, right? So it stacks. So if you blink on someone coming out of the jungle, you're gonna do your first auto could do around 250, depending obviously on your spike. It could do more, it could do less, but a Willix is pretty damn strong, and she has been buffed on 2 to 3 patches back to back. Ult CD, attack speed, damage. She is really good. If you're a good Willix player, you can guarantee MMR in the jungle role with her. Baba got nerfed, but, I mean, Baba's Baba. I think I'm going to drop her 1 baby tier just because I think that late game, it always benefited her to be, you know, triple stacking. I think the game's a little bit faster now, so those triple stack builds are going to lose a little bit of value. But she still has high DPS, pretty safe. Warlocks did get buffed, so it's pretty damn good on her. I would try Warlocks on Baba. Might push her over to the Masters tier if you use that, but it is what it is. I think I'm going to leave her at A until I see more respectable Babas. AMC, I think AMC is pretty weak right now. Bluestone, he's just like a worse Marty, an unsafe Marty, I'd say. Isn't that good in mid? I don't know. I don't think he's that good. I think I'm gonna leave him at C. I think Soul is more about an A. High, maybe even worse. Good. I mean, the early game matters more, so the pressure matters more. So doing Gold Fury, and she's really good at doing OBJs. Pretty kind of safe. I think she's okay. I'll leave her at the B. Freya at the Masters tier. Her 2-1 pumps. It's insane damage. She's safe with her ult. If you're good at whooping, you can, you know, really, you know, make it really hard to kill you if you're using relics and whoop and ult correctly. And she does pumps insane damage. I think Rama is just Rama. He's an A tier hunter. He, you know, Aussie's a little bit better, so he kind of benefits from that. If you're gonna go the Aussie build with him, which I think is good. He safe hunter, over the top damage with ult. Rama's Rama. I think Bacchus might have been bumped up a little bit in terms of support. Not as good as Ares and Athena, but he's pretty good. His damage is decent. It's pretty good for a support. Really good stun. Hard to kill. Good, like, good fight around mid camps. That flop into burp can really cause some trouble for a lot of characters around those mid camps, especially the mids that want to get those mid camps and end up tanking some damage to the mid camps. Bacchus can punish that compared to other supports. So I think he's in a pretty decent spot. I think Cupid is absolutely so bad unless he has value in the cripple. This character is bananas. But bananas are good, so never mind. Not even bananas. Not even worthy of bananas. I think Scotty jumped up a couple tiers. Not off the patch. She did get buffed where she's immune to slows during her 3 during her 3 buff. Her yeah. She's immune to slows during her 3 buff. It's just that. I think she's a pretty good mid in ADC, and I think having pressure with Bluestone can make her kind of hard to fight. I haven't seen any Scotty mids outside of me playing it, but I think it's good. I played it; it felt really good. I felt like I had good clear. You have good control on the mid camps, good fight, kind of hard to kill. I think it was pretty good. I think she's pretty decent. Hui's alright. He didn't really get buffed. I mean, crit meta is back, and Hui benefits from that, so I won't put him in the C tier. I think he's decent. Low clear, good fight, and helps that he's in a crit meta. Cherry is just a safe hunter that does nothing. Cherry is just good at doing nothing. Cherry's just average at everything. That's what Cherry is. She's average or below average at everything. She's not good at anything other than probably surviving. I think Baka is pretty decent right now. He's between Masters or A. He got nerfed a little bit on his 2 prots, but he can dominate this map pretty well. And I think fast clear and stealing back camps has increased in value since totem spawn. And because of this, I think Baka stealing totems could really slow down the spikes that side laners want to have with the correct totem. So for that, I'm going to leave him at A, or he's between A or Masters. I'll leave him at A for now. Baron support or mid, Omega low mid support. Baron support, it's okay. It's okay. I'll leave it at that. He's just average. I think Bastet is really good right now. She feels really strong, really fast pace. I think there's some big walls to jump over where you get high value. She's hard to kill. I like her build up. I like the Soul Eater. I've been actually doing here. I'll give you guys some little tech on the Bastet. I've been doing the Soul Eater serrated build and then going into the Lifesteal Totem. The Lifesteal is crazy, including the passive. That's 4 times Lifesteal. If you want to go Blood Fortune, get 5 times you can. But I think Bastet's really good in my honest opinion. Try her out if you haven't. Bellona. She's just an ult, bro. Realistically, she doesn't even get pressure on lane versus the character she should. Bellona. I think Bellona's bad. She doesn't do anything. She's an ult. They beads it, and then you're just a disarm. You don't have enough damage to really threat the backline. Cabroken. Do I have to say anything about this character? He's Cabroken. He is literally, if you're not playing Cab right now and you're in solo or support, you're doing it wrong. He is so good. They reduced the CD. They fix his mana problems in like 2 or 3 different ways. Character's really strong. Really strong. Set is, I think he dropped a little bit. I think he dropped a tiny bit. I think he's still really good in a dominant. The face cam's delayed. Oh, is it? I think I saw it for a second. Is it delayed or is it not, chat? No? Okay. Camazotz. I think Camazotz is actually pretty underrated if you ask me. I think he's really good. I think you could play a pretty fast pace with him, obviously with his passive and his sustain. I think he's good. I don't know why no one's playing him. I think there's only a couple guys that are playing Cama right now, and I have no clue why. I think Marty was gutted, but I think Marty, regardless of being gutted in his kit will always stand out. If you still get to your 5 slots, you know, your Soul Eater, you can go Fail Not, you can go Hearts, you can go Crusher, any of these items, you're cooking around that mid late game, and his ult is just hard to deal with in general. So I think the character is still pretty good, and you can't forget his grass, because his grass helps dominate, you know, the part of the map wherever you're trying to play that OBJ. Cerber's gotten buffed, but I haven't really seen much of him. I think he's decent. I think he's as good as you are hitting your ones. If you're on with your ones, so we'll base it off hitting like 50 or 60% of your ones. He's still okay. It just depends. I think he's pretty decent. I don't know why I haven't seen him either. There's a lot of characters I don't know why I haven't seen, but I guess I've only played like around 50 or 60 games this new patch. I'll leave him at B, to be fair. I think Dusa is pretty damn good right now. Have you seen her buffs? You can go the Bluestone build. I just feel weird. I think I have mixed opinions about Dusa. I think the Bluestone helps her early mid, but then if you go into the Crusher Heartseeker, you're not a true hunter. You spit on them, it's big damage. Don't get me wrong, but after that, if they Aegis it or beads it, like, your damage is nowhere. It's not that, right? You're not a true hunter. Like, I'd prefer at that point, like, Anhur is doing similar damage with his 2 and his ult. Obviously, if the Dusa has Heartseeker, Bluestone, Crusher, their abilities are doing more. But then Anhur just has crit, and he's just left clicking for 600 or 700 in auto at 2.5 attack speed, or like 2.2, where Dusa's not doing that. And so that's why I feel a little weird about Dusa in that sense. So I don't know. I think I leave her at A. Yeah, because if you go a full crit build on her, but then you have Bluestone, it feels horrible, right? But then if you have Death Toll, it feels pretty bad, because the Bluestone helps clear archers, which gives you clear. So she's in a weird spot, I'd say. But if you go full ability base, I think she's a solid A tier. She does really good damage. I think X-Ball is underrated. One of X-Ball's problems, in my opinion, is his clear, because you have to max bolas to clear, and I think the Goose... the berries help him out a lot in terms of clear, where you can put a couple extra levels in your 2 and your 3, because you don't have to max bolas to clear and lose all your neutral farm. And with the berries helping him out like that, and crit being back, his ult is such high value. Increased attack speed, increased attack range, and not being able to see. I think you can take out 2 people during the ult duration if you're 5 or 6 slotted. So with that being said, I think X-Ball is pretty good. I like seeing X-Ball this high. I think Kronos is, I think he dropped off a little bit. I think you're getting one shot by crit and or mages before your ult pops, and then so like what is Kronos? And then the games aren't going nearly as long, so you're getting less from the passive. He's not the greatest early game play. He's like a 3 item type of character, 3 or 4, and then obviously he gets better 5 on 6. But it's Kronos though, so it's weird to put him at B, because the kit within itself has high skill cap. If you're able to hit those 1s and 3s and time your ult, it's a great character. But if you're just an average Kronos, he is probably like a B or C tier in my opinion. But We'll leave it. We'll act like we'll say my community are goats. So we'll leave it at A. Chalk keeps getting buffed, but I don't really see. He's just like, I feel like he's like, I don't know, wannabe Osiris with a silence. And even Osiris, like Osiris isn't even good, so he wants to be a character that's not even great. Ixchel has to be the most underrated mage in the game right now. I think there is some characters that are really good versus her, but I think she has to be the most underrated god I've yet to see. Like, she is so good. Her damage is crazy. Her spell combos are insane. Even without the ult, you can take the ult away and say you have no teammates to press 4 on, and her 1-3-2 carries that kit. Only thing is, there's some characters like Baka and whatnot that will just chomp at her, but Baka's chomping a lot of characters, so. Izanami, I think, fell off a little bit, and I'm going to tell you why. Berries kind of cooks her, right? Because Berries helps other hunters clear, and she already insta-clears, so it kind of puts her in a weird spot where she was picked for the pressure. She still does have pressure before Berries gets evolved, but once Berries get evolved, it doesn't really matter. The pressure no longer matters. And she's whatever. She's easily killable. Crit's okay, so she's okay. She's a B. I even think Chiron's better than her. Chiron Bluestone build, delicious. I see, like, Dusa feels a little weird with it, but Chiron feels so dominant with it. I think I'd go Bow with Chiron, Trans Jotuns, Crusher, Heartseeker, Bluestone, Titans. You're pumping. You're doing absolutely insane damage in the team fights. And I feel like a lot of the geometry in the map, I think, is really good for the one. Same thing goes for Dusa. The map feels sometimes like you're in these chokes around Pyro and Gold where you just get, you know, a Dusa ult can change the fight, or Chiron 1, 2, 3 and ult can change the fight. Same goes for Olorun. I think Olorun is pretty good right now. I think obviously it's as good as you are with the ult. You know, if you whiff that ult, I mean, you're not a character. But if you have good ults, I think the rest of his kit is pretty good to have high pressure, and with pressure being more important and Gold Furies being more important since the games are ending faster, Olorun makes a lot of sense to me. Chang'e is a one trick. The one trick Chang'es that just blink ult 2 people 3-1, and then that's what they do for the game. They farm 20 and they do that, and then hope their team carries them through the fight. I think Cleo doesn't feel as good as she did before. She's slow. She's really slow, and as I've been saying throughout this whole tier list and patches, games are faster. So in my opinion, last patch Cleo was good because if you did when you hit your 6 slots, because you were gonna hit it, because every game was, you know, average game time was probably 35-40 minutes. Cleo was taking advantage of that, you know, getting into a wall of fire with 6 slots red pot. You're gonna one tap 2 people and you're untargetable. So that's really good. But as the patches slowed down, sped up, and Cleo still stays a slow character, I think she's nearly not as good. I think Vulcan is really, really good right now. I don't see why. I mean, I understand his, you know, problems where he can get, you know, jumped, and all he has is backfire and 3 at his feet. But the turret CD seems kind of crazy to me. I feel like it's overlooked, and turret CD means map control, and map control means lots of mid camps, and lots of mid camps equals lots of farm, and being ahead in this meta is really important. So I'm gonna leave him at the A tier. Ishtar, I've seen some Ishtars come back, but I don't know. I think she's kind of shit. Like, before, she was just like a safe hunter with lots of clear, but now with berries helping in that aspect, what is she? What's her significance? She's a 4 button. I don't know. I'd rather have Artemis at that point. Actually, I'm going to put Art above her. I literally feel this way. I think an Artemis with Boar and crit is much better than an Ishtar. And berries help this character like crazy. Berries literally carry this character. Now you just 3, you let the minion wave group, auto 3, auto. It's already grouped, it's slowed, and berries getting max value on the autos. You have great clear now on Art. And then on top of that, you already know what Art does in those team fights. You don't have, I mean, she'll literally take 5 beads if she gets the opportunity. I think Neith is not as bad. Nowhere near as bad as she was before. I think the Bluestone build is fine. I think she could be played mid or ADC. The only problem when you pick her ADC is you lose a little bit of objective damage. But I think in mid, she's pretty decent. I don't mind the Neith right now. I like Neith. I think she has good spikes. I think she has a good pace. Cthulhu. I think Cthulhu's fell off a bit. Trying to think. I mean, I watched Final play Cthulhu yesterday, and it looked pretty good. I feel like Cthulhu is really good when he hits us like 3 or 4 item spike and he rotates to the team fight around gold or pyro or mid or wherever, and he's in a nuisance and he's hard to deal with because they don't have the items to do so. And actually, I'm gonna pump him up now that I'm thinking more and more about the patch. I like RDO, Cthulhu, Bologna, like these soul laners that rotate and have impact where they weren't doing that before because they couldn't clear, they couldn't get out of their lane because they were trying to hit 20 to play that 30-minute timing. I think Cthulhu is really good when he hits those 3 item spikes because you don't, like I said, you don't have the items to deal with him. In last patch, everybody had their 6 slots, so he just goes into ult form and just gets one tapped. I think he's much better. It makes a lot of sense to me. Hachi dropped off where he was that S tier hunter. Masters, let's just put S here. Where he was that S tier hunter, that 100 second, he dropped 10 seconds on his ult, which was making him really safe. I feel like it's much easier to come over, gank his lane, bait his ult, then come back again and he's dead. Where before, it just felt like that ult CD was dropping, you know, if he was level 14 or 15, 3 levels in that ult, it was really, really, it was getting kind of low, and he was just always had his horse. Now, not always having his horse is an easier gank, but Hachi's, they didn't nerf anything else about the Hachi, so his 1 is still really good. His 2, I mean, he's still really good. I don't know if I'm trying to think between S or A right now. I'm not sure. I think I'd put him S, even with that nerf. Kukulin, I mean, I haven't seen him, but in terms of everything I've talked about this patch, I don't see why he'd be bad. I only see why he'd be good. So I'm going to drop him in that 8. On hers S, Cherno should be in his own category in my opinion right now. I think he's on a whole nother level. He's going to get nerfed. It's obvious he has to get nerfed, unfortunately, because he is an amazing character. But yeah, he got overbuffed. Daji's probably still pretty, I haven't seen her much, but I think she could be really good. I might play her. I'll let you guys know where she's at. But I think in a more of an early game meta, Daji can be really good pulling actives, and continuously fighting untargetable beads puller. I don't think Bologna is much better. I think Bologna is really low. She's a C tier. I think that's pretty low in this tier list. I feel like I want to put Cupid there, but literally, if they do have like dashes, like Cupid jumps up a tier. If they don't have dashes, this is the worst character in the game. Jingwei, crit meta, safe, power farmer. People say, oh, Jingwei doesn't feel as good. I think she's fine. Jingwei's Jingwei until they nerf something really bad about her. I actually think Discordia jumped up a bit. I think her pressure is really good. Her team fight, Bao plus her 3 gets kind of crazy. The CDs, the 2 ones you're dropping, really, really good. I think she's pretty underrated. I think we'll see more and more Discordia as we go out on this patch. I'm going to throw her in that S, honestly. Low-key. I think Haim is okay. Safe hunter, knock-off immunity, hard to kill. CERN pressure isn't the same as it was. CERN can kind of do his thing, but I don't know. I don't feel like he's that good. When I see CERN, I don't really see a threat. He was so good like 5 or 6 months ago. He was top ADC. I don't know. I don't feel like CERN is that good. Maybe I'll play him, but his burst is high. But that's it, I think. I'll leave him an A. Erlang, mannequin buff. I think he's still poo-poo. He's poo-poo for poo-poo puffs. Eset in the early game meta definitely feels pretty good. I'd say, Wingust is always one of the best level 1 clears. Her mid camp control is pretty good. Her team fight is really good. Her objective secure is pretty good. I think Eset's in a good spot right now. I think Faf. All right, so I think Faf loses a little bit of value in this meta because objectives are much easier to clear. So where like he was really good last patch because of the objectives were unkillable. But either way, you wouldn't even pull the FG in front of another team last patch. So I don't know. Faf is kind of weird spot. I'm trying to think of supports, but like his pressure is pretty low, and then you want Faf for his late game. I think the buffs to his ult were really good for his 20, right? His 20 and his 17. His ult lasts forever, and I feel like that's really high value. So I'll leave him at A. I think Fenrir is actually really good in this type of meta, in a fast-paced totem meta where the builds go a little crazy. I like Fen right now a lot. Apollo's in that S tier as well. Definitely chilling there with Cherno. A lot of the buffs that he got, 30 extra magical prots on his mez. Hard to gank ADC. Very good split pusher. Good team fight. The polishing on his ult was really good. So I think in general he's in a really strong spot. I think Ganesh is probably like an S tier support. He's just obnoxious around the Pyro and Gold Fury. His silence, the prots, the early team fights. I think Ganesh is really good right now. Underrated. I think Geb was so good last patch because he was hitting 20 every game. But I think Geb fell off a little bit. I think he went from like S tier to A tier. Maybe even V. Because Geb in the early mid can fall off really hard unless you're hitting perfect ults. Gilga, how's Gilga, man? Gilga's like, whatever. Gilga's pretty booty cheeks, I'd say. Danza is pretty decent. I think Danza's in a good spot. He has okay pressure. He has good survivability. I like Danza right now. Where's Guan Yu been, man? We haven't seen this man in a while. I think Guan Yu is like a B, good healing. But I think he might come back. He might come back little by little because of these objective fights are more important and healing becomes more important in this time. When I think about Guan in the early, obviously if there's a way to cancel his 3, he has a really hard time. Yeah, I think B is pretty fair for Guan. Hades solo. Hebo's absolutely toasted right now with Bao. He's just water cannoning. They're gonna nerf the water cannon CD. They have to. I mean, they have to. If they don't, they're fried. He's water cannoning like 3 or 4 times in 5 seconds because of Shard and Bao. Because those buffs are base value and his CD is base value, like you're getting 1 second CD, 0.5 second CD, water cannons, which it's not a healthy thing to watch. Hades has good pressure, and he was really good at early season 10. He was heavily prioed because of just straight up Bancrofts, and early game was more important. Then the big nerf happened, and all the big patch happened where late game became the only thing that mattered. Then Hades fell off because his late game is not nearly as good. So, but with early game being more important, I can see Hades coming back and invading blues and proxying and becoming a threat. Thank you. Ooler Schmooler, man. What a beautiful character design, only to be dumpstered. This character does no fucking damage. Literally, an early game hunter that's not good at early game. An ability based hunter that does no damage with abilities. It's pretty cute. It's pretty funny to watch. Hell, I feel like Hell's really good right now. Really low key. I think like whether it's mid or solo or support, sustain in these early fights can just make a huge difference on how much you're getting off the map. And getting a lot off the map right now becomes a problem late. Hera. Is Hera just bad? She's without Posh. I think Hera's just bad, bro. She can't go to mid camps without dying. Herc felt really good yesterday. I think Herc might be S tier hunter. I mean, solo. Horus is really good right now. I think he's S tier support. He's so fast on the map, and with so many OBJs being so important now, like being everywhere is really important. Hun bots, haven't played him. Haven't played Hun bots, but he's a pretty slow ramp up. You know, he's better late game. I think around like that, like mid game, he gets really strong, but in the early he's a little weak. But bots is bots. I think if you can make it to your 3 items, which you should at least every game, he's gonna have good team fight. I think Janice has gotten a little weaker. I think he dropped a tier. Because the map is contested much harder. You can't get as much free farm, and since you can't, and then sometimes it's harder to get to that late game, the late game slots, which you need on him to get really good damage off. Jorm got nerfed, but he still has really good pressure. Kali got mega nerfed. I don't think Kali's nearly as good. I think I'd rather pick Arachne to carry myself in a in a gold or silver game over Kali. I think there were pretty significant changes to Kali. Capri's kind of slow. I think he scales. What up, Quiz? For the 76 months. King Arthur got bumped up pretty hard. I don't know if he's S tier. I feel like he's A or S. I still think he has same problems, right? Like, if you can cancel his dashes, he starts to lose some value. And I think there's a lot of ways to cancel his spins nowadays. Like the characters that are kind of good, like Horus, you know, Ganesh, those type of characters that are just, you know, crip on Discordia. But I think he's pretty damn good. Kukulkan, I think, is just kind of booty cheeks. Yeah, even with his buffs, he's booty cheeks. I think he's just booty cheeks. Kumba's booty cheeks as well. Kuzin, I with Kuzin last patch, you were going Fire Blink and getting guaranteed Thebes stacked, Prophetic stacked, and then Pridwin, right? And then on that spike, you can kill any backliner. With that being said, nowadays, I'm not sure if you can get your Prophetic stack guaranteed with Kuzin, which means he's lacking some prods, but Kuzin is Kuzin. What do you think about Kuzin? She said A tier. Lance. I think Lance has to be the most underrated jungler. More than Kama. I think he's like A tier realistically. Because he does have the problem where if they have a lot of stuns, it's really hard to play the Lance. You know, you're off your horse constantly. But if they do lack a little bit of stun and have silence and roots and knockups, this character just jumps up tiers. This character is a volatile character, in my opinion, in the terms of how good he is against what. Loki, I think Loki is a little bit slow. His ramp up is slow, right? He was so good last patch. I was playing a lot of Loki last patch. With Boomba's hammer and your 6 slots, like Loki was the really, really good. There were some Lokis going Bluestone and solo and just poking with decoy. But I think in this meta, if you don't play it fast, like if you don't, if you go trans and then trans into Hydras and waiting for Boomba's hammer to hit that spike, you might lose before then and not get to that point where he is one of the strongest junglers. So with that being said, I think he's A or B. I'm going to leave him at A. I think Maui is really good. I feel like Maui, people think Maui's like bad because they changed the ult CD, but I don't necessarily agree. I think his 3-2-1 make up for it. You can hit a lot. And a lot of these corridors I was talking about the corridors earlier with the Dusa. With Dusa and Olo. Same goes for Maui. Those corridors, you can hit some giant ults and really turn the fight. I think Merc is creeping his way back up a little bit. Reason being is that, Golden Blade, or you want to go berries and go a different build, you can, and it owns. And he plays fast. Mercury can play lane to lane. You can gank left, you can be mid after, you can then line up an ult right. Like, you're just everywhere. And with that being said, I think Merc kind of crept up. As earlier I was talking about, the spec was a big problem, but spec still is a problem. But you can kind of switch up your build a little bit with berries and kind of find an outlet and still gank the map efficiently. I'm probably gonna mess with Merc for a bit and see what I can get going and let you guys know. Merlin, I think Merlin is I think he fell off a bit. Late game mage that wanted to go tablet and book and grab Reaver, and then he's strong. Well, she might not make it. And it feels good to have Merlin at B, bro. Feels good, bro. Feels good to have Merlin at B. After seeing that character for like a year and a half or two of just being like the most dominant mid, just because he scales the way he does, feels good to have an early game meta again. Morgan Le Fay. I think Morgan Le Fay is pretty underrated mage. I know a lot of people hate playing against her or love playing as her. Very, defensive, strong lane dominator. And as I spoke earlier, that the meta is, becoming faster. Morgan Le Fay loves that. Mulan, I think solo is very gankable right now with the way the geometry of the map is, and blue buffs is very playable. Because early game you want to sit on to get those totem value, right? You want to sit, kind of get those backs and end up on your totems. And if like you're a Mulan with Soul Eater, you're just gonna get kind of ganked and taking your blue, and you won't be able to survive that lane. So I think she's like a B or C. But like I also said, I think I'm gonna leave her at B, and the reason being is, remember I was talking about Ardio becoming a little bit better because these solo rotations are more important for Beacon, Gold Fury, Pyro, and before they didn't really rotate for it unless they had TP, which was much later. Mulan's okay. It's because she does have that strong mid game spike where she does rotate it, and her fight is really good when her abilities are upgraded. Naja, I think Naja's S tier. I think obviously Naja is those volatile characters. If you're not hitting everything, you can feel that pain. But when you think about a fast-paced meta, what do you think? You have to think Naja is up there in the conversation. So with that being said, I think Naja is S tier. Obviously, if you're not very good with Naja, he's probably A or B. But with that being said, I think Naja is S tier. Nem got some buffs, but they're more quality of life than I would say a big buff. She's just still where she's at. I think she's a little bit better in this type of meta. I'll probably think about making an M video for you guys. I have a couple characters to make videos for out of this tier list as we continue. During that Salt tournament last weekend, they were playing a lot of Nike. I didn't really understand why. I still think Sunder's pretty good. So we'll see what happens. I think Nike, she's not a lane dominator. She just clears wave as long as they don't cancel her like Guan. And then she's just a tank to survive. I'm going to drop her a bit. I don't think she deserves that A. She's a B. Nox, when we think about Nox, we think about her in that support role, maybe even mid, but I think more often support. And I think Nox is still good in those early levels. That 1 through 5, that she's really strong. Damage reduction, CC immunity, hard to kill. And she sets up a lot. I think Nox is in a pretty good spot right now. New Wall, I hate seeing this character. I really despise this character. It's just I think her 2 is just so weak. If your 2 doesn't line up perfect with your 3, you do no damage, right? You're just a shard. Hopefully you hit your fog or use it for self peel, and then you're a 4 button, right? So with that being said, New Wall was probably better last patch because you're scaling and getting to that 5 slots where when you press 4, you actually impact the fight. Right now you might not make it there, and if you don't make it there, then why even pick this character? I'm gonna say B or C. I think B is a bit more fair. Probably prefer having a New Wall than a Cuckoo. I think Odin has stepped up a little bit because the game is a bit faster and those Gold Fury rotations are a bit faster. So if your Cage has good value, which is the reason you'd probably pick Odin, those Gold Fury fights and Pyro fights can get hard for the supports to get that upgraded shell, and if they don't, that as Odin, you're gonna feel great, and for that reason, I think he's a pretty good spot. I think Osiris, people looked at it like oh my god, those buffs are so good, but I disagree. I don't think those buffs are very big. I think those buffs were single-handedly only for solo Osiris, and even then, what does he do? What does he do? He doesn't have enough damage to kill you. He threes you and reduces your damage and annoys you. He's just good at zoning out damage. He's zoning out hunters pretty much. He doesn't even win lane hard enough to proxy like that. And if you do, he's kind of an easy gank. I mean, I watched Baskin play him yesterday. I kind of camped his lane because it was just free kills. Like, it's Osiris. What are you supposed to do? He has to play in your face because if not, the character doesn't play. And then when he does, he dies. So I don't know. I think the sickle change didn't really make sense to me. It goes through minions. On paper, that sounds awesome. But then you think about it, you're like, either way, I want to cleave auto. Like, it only makes sense for like the jungler as a jungle Osiris if you have Crusher. That now you're wanting through the double minions, so you can 2-1, you can 1 and then just cleave when the thing is dead. But even then, it's like it's whatever. I'll play some Osiris and feel him out. I think Pele jumped up to that S tier. As you guys know, I dropped a YouTube video on her talking about her changes. One more auto on her ult after her pyro class, and her 1 ability now refuels her 3. So I thought those were pretty big changes. I think she's a very fast-paced jungler, and you heard me talk about this whole damn patch is fast-paced jungling and fast-paced map play. I think Purse is okay right now. There's someone in my chat that forces me to play Purse a lot. Well, not forces me, but does God requests. And I didn't really think the character was any good, but I think if Purse has ult value and makes the fights hard in these corridors, I think she is pretty strong. I'm going to play some Purse mid and maybe drop a video. We'll see. I think there is some fast builds that you can do with her that will make her pretty damn strong. Poseidon's been kind of not touched or talked about. He was the best power farmer, and he was super fast. But power farming didn't matter anymore in that last patch. But power farming in this patch matters a bit more because you might not hit that 30-minute spike. And so with that being said, Poseidon might be a bit better. I haven't played him. I haven't even seen him in this patch. But just based off what I'm saying in the patch in general, he's either a B or A. I'd probably say A. He's pretty easy to kill on those mid camps if you gank him, but he can clear him so fast that he's in and out. Raijin has become a lot better. I don't know if he's S tier. I don't know if I'd say he's S tier. I absolutely love the way they buffed him. I think the way they approached this buff of Raijin was the way they should approach every single character that has an outdated kit. But he still has the same problem where his damage is very interruptible. Especially if you're a mid lane Raijin, right? Like, let's say I'm like an E set or anything that can silence or Morgan Le Fay or Nox mid or anything. Literally, you just interrupt his 1 and now he's no damage unless he dashes on you, which is suicide. So I think A is a bit more fair. I think Raw's around the A as well. Hard clear, but you need setup. You absolutely need setup for Raw. If not, and he doesn't do that much damage, I feel. I think his sustain is good. His lane pressure is good. His fights, his Gold Fury and Pyro fights are good, and he has good secure. But he doesn't have that overwhelming damage like Heba would or Agni. Agni slams Raw in lane. I think Rat might have crept up into the S tier low key with no one talking about him just because of the pace he plays on the map with his Acorn / ult, and nobody's talking about him. I think Ravana is another S tier jungler. Fast pace, brain dead, in terms of execution, and very hard to kill. He's a nightmare for mid laners. Right? I think Ravana's pretty damn good. Scylla in a faster meta does not feel the greatest, I'd say. I think she dropped off a little bit into that B tier. I think if you're really good with Scylla, she could be A or S if you're hitting triple roots, triple ult, triple crush, but seems like a dream scenario to base the tier list off. I think Serket's fine. She has been hit a little bit, but I think in her early game meta, Serket is always roaming around. I don't know if she's straight up S. I think she's A. Shiva. So before Shiva had a problem where he wasn't scaling, right? You win the early, you invade a couple of blues, you get to 25, 27 minutes, and then you're dancing and you get, one tap by the mage and the hunter, comboing you while you dance. This is alleviated by this patch as the meta has become a bit faster where Shiva's he can shine at 25, 20 minutes, 18 minutes and feel pretty good and not get punished in that 27 minutes if you're able to close out game. So I think he's more of a B or A. Sobek, I think Sobek in a faster pace can be really good. Obviously he needs the good characters around him, but he's very hard to kill, and plucks matter more in this early game because totems and recipes are allowing for people to have more damage and kill people off plucks. Wukong got nerfed, but Wukong is Wukong. He's been really strong and dominating solo lane. His late game, he does fall off a tiny bit, just a tiny bit, like in towards that 30-35 minute. But since you're not making it there anymore, those Gold Fury rotations mean a lot for Wukong, and he loves those. And he can proxy really well. He can take backs. He can affect totems. He can do a lot right now. Susano got nerfed a little bit, but he's Susano. He didn't get hit hard enough to not be a top tier jungler. This character will be a top tier jungler as long as his ult is doing the damage that it's doing and taking up and AoE that it is. Sylvanas actually creeps up pretty high in my opinion. I think Sylvanas is top tier right now. Reason being is, yes, he can die. He died. All right, so Sylvanas, what was his problem last patch? If 3 people are 6 slotted in front of you and you walk up to try to pull and you miss, and even if you land it, you're gonna stand there and get one tapped. Now, if you're able to get your Thebes and maybe some extra pots, Thebes into Sov, and now you're at Gold Fury, you're sustaining your team, you're peeling your team, you have Shell. These guys don't have 6 slots in front of you. They have 2 or 3 slots, and they're forced to fight you at Gold Fury. Sylvanas is a happy man. So with that being said, I think he's really good. I think Terra side by side with him, does a lot. We've seen Genetics play him. We see Jake play him. We see a lot of the supports running him. Terra right now, she is really strong. Her ult has great value, level 5 through 20. Has great setup, hard to kill. Thanatos still sits in that S tier. Strong early game. Strong early game. Impacts the whole map. Sustain off the camps. And he definitely benefits off the totems quite a bit more just based off the flat pen on us too. The Morgan, character that takes a little bit more time to ramp up but has decent gank. You need early CD if you want to not fall behind. I think Morgan's fine. She's A tier. Thor got nerfed a bit, so I'm going to drop him a tiny bit. I still think he's like S tier, A tier, just based off the early game ganks. I think Thor was a little bit, I don't know. Thor is interesting. I think he's this. I think he stays there. Thoth is creeped up to the S tier 100%. I think his damage is crazy. I think Tiamat, yeah. And then Tiamat is probably going to be more around that A tier, maybe B tier. He was benefiting, people were loving the book, breastplate, tablet builds. You can't do that anymore. I mean, you can, but the game might be over before you can get those online. And I went Chronos Pendant yesterday with him to see how it felt, how fast does Tiamat feel. It felt pretty decent. I felt like, I could jump in a lot at these mid camps and actually get involved. I'll probably practice it more today to see. Suki's ass. Tier's probably okay. I would say tier's either A or... Yeah, he's probably an A tier solo laner. Let me see what I have an S. Wukong. Herc. Tier could be an S. He loves those Gold Fury rotations. Amana's dead. Jing is pretty good in support, I feel. Especially with everybody going crit. Jing 10 spec plus his 1 makes the fights really hard. I think Yamoja's an S tier support too. Ymir is a little bit better because Ymir was having similar problems with Sylvanas. Right? Where you just plant yourself and get one tap by 2 characters that are 6 slotted in front of you. And that same scenario for Sylvanas that helped him so much, I think helped Ymir. Where obviously you're going to pick Ymir because he has wall value. And these Gold Fury and Pyro pits especially Pyro, the wall can change the fight. And yes, you might die, but I don't know. I feel like he's a little bit better. I think you is a B tier. His animations are too long. Zeus has good damage, but he's killed at mid camps. Zhang might be low key pretty damn good. No cap. I might play Zhang. I want to see. But I feel like he might be strong. I feel like Zhang Warlock staff might fucking smash. And then there's last characters. There's Surtur. Surtur has been looking pretty good in my opinion. I think his jungle wants to kill a lot of solo laners right now, and Surtur allows that with his ult dive. I think his Gold Fury and Pyro fights are really good. I think late game he just fell off a cliff, and since late game, you know, when I mean late game, I mean those 30, 35 minutes, you know, that's changed a lot. So I think Serta is pretty damn good. You should be playing him if you're in solo. And Charon is S tier, as you guys know. That character is toasted. They did hit him, but that character, in my opinion, is still really toasted. And then I'm thinking, what else? And then Ixchel. Oh yeah, we already did Ixchel, so perfect. Only missing Charon. I think he's S tier. I put Raijin in A tier. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys have any questions, like I said, drop your comments below. I'll make sure to answer them each. Actually, Cupid's alone in the bad section. Noob. Hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll start our rank journey